Welcome back to the channel. In this video we are taking a look at a Reddit post. I originally found this or saw a video that Epic Slayers did about it, so I'll leave a link to his channel in the description, and I will also leave a link to this Reddit post so that you guys can read through it yourselves if you want to. But this is basically covering the fact that Nikki pretty much just lied on State of the Game and said they don't know how to deal with their own systems. There were technical limitations that stopped them changing the loot during Title Update 10, and if this is spot on, which I believe it pretty much is, there might be a few errors here and there, then they did mess around with the loot, and I'll explain it as we go through it, but I'm not going to be going into full maths and everything like that. I'm just going to simplify it and explain it, because this is affecting players of all levels, like level 30 players without Warlords and level 40s with. So the update, today's State of the Game partially confirmed some topics of this post. Looking at a slight increase for challenging and a bigger one for heroic and TU 10.1. They wanted to increase the minimum values for the different difficulties, but they failed to do so in TU 10. They will do it in TU 10.1. They're going to try to solve the rainbow issue in TU 11. It's not hard. Like, there's been so many like China Light pieces. We're getting rolled with like double red rolls, and we've had like Murakami is dropping with double blue rolls and stuff. And I believe I got a Sokolov piece which is to do with SMG builds, like DPS stuff, and it was dropping with yellows. Like, they need to rework the entire thing realistically, and I know it's going to be a lot of work, but that's what's needed. They did it to get to Gear 2.0, they need to do it and bring it to Gear 3.0, and just find the right balance, because they're constantly messing around with stuff, and it just means every single title update, or quote-unquote title update, because it's more of a patch every single time, they need to bring a better balance so that they don't need to do so much stuff each time, and they can focus on the things that are relevant, because Rainbow Rolls are a big issue, and that's not going to be done until TU 11, or that's when they're estimating it'll be done. It might be delayed and might not be done until TU 12. Disclaimer, it's based on a datamine, so like it's not guaranteed to be 100% correct, but it does feel for the most part to be fairly accurate. And there was a correction that needed to be done for a previous post months ago. So this was title update 8/9, so this was from the moment Warlords released up until when we hit title update 10. If you look at the rolls here for level 30 players, on normal difficulty you've got a 22% chance of getting an item to drop with a 16 to 32% rolls. So the minimum being 16, the highest being 32. It's a 22% chance. And it goes all the way up. If you look at this, I believe that is a mistake, because 64 to 72%, you've got 4.5%. And then if you go up to 96 to 99% rolls, apparently there's a 12% chance on normal difficulty. So I don't know if this is all correct, but that's for level 30 players. Looking at this, level 40 players, and you'll see the differences in the graph below. If you look at the, let's just skip, we'll go to legendary. 60%, like the minimum roll you can get on legendary difficulty is 72%. So if you're finding pieces with rolls lower than that, it either shouldn't be the case or this graph is a little bit more off than what it seems to be. But a minimum of 72% rolls, a high of 80%, you have a 60% chance of getting that to drop. And it says here, the tier 5 means a drop from an NPC or a boss in legendary has a 60% chance, rolled at 72 to 80%, so that explains what I've just gone through. Then if you look here, under TU 10, so this applies, like they've basically just rolled it all into one, and this applies to level 30 players at World Tier 5 and level 40s. On Legendary, that's 72 to 80% rolls, the chance is 78% instead of 60. So you have a much higher chance of getting the worst possible rolled stuff on Legendary. And if you look at this, the field proficiency caches, they are tied in with the same percentages as challenging difficulty. The clan caches are tied in with heroic, and then the season caches are tied in with legendary. If you're going to tie anything out of those three different types of caches with legendary, it has to be the clan cache. That is, you get one cache per week, and you have to do a lot of stuff in game between you and your clan members to actually obtain the gold cache. So that should be tied to the legendary difficulty, if any, because it never was previously. They had their own separate values. But the season cash, which you get for literally leveling up in the season, that is tied to the legendary drop percentages. That is ridiculous. And another thing I'd like to bring up quickly is in my video I did, a pointless feature, was about the field proficiency caches. People kept stating that it might not be great for everyone because you put a lot of hours in or whatever. I've got over 1,200 hours on the game now. But that's not the case. Like, people were saying it's going to be a really good thing for new players. I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you're season level 100, you are not classed as a new player on the game. It takes a long time to get up to level 40. Once you're level 40, you start doing the seasonal stuff. In order to get field proficiency caches in the game right now, you have to be season level 100. So for people to say that it's good for new players, you're not going to be a new player at season level 100. You're going to have experience on the game. But just looking at this a little bit further, if you're going to get an item to drop with 80 to 88% rolls, you've got an 18% chance. It goes from 78% to 18. 88 to 96% rolls, 2.6%. Then to get 96 to, it's pretty much 99.9. We'll say 96 to 100%. So this is going up to your item being a triple god roll, like the perfect piece. It's a 0.9% chance. And it's just so bad because I've had a decent amount of level 30 players coming to me and saying that I'm not getting 515 gear score drops anymore. This is the reason you're not getting them drops, because they've messed around with all of these different stats. And Legendary literally has the worst, like the highest percentage of getting the lowest possible drops for that difficulty. That is an absolute piss take, because Legendary is the toughest difficulty in the game. Like, excluding the raids because that has its own difficulty. But Legendary is the toughest to do. They take the longest. And your percentage of getting the lowest possible drops for that difficulty is the highest chance. That is a stupid thing. So there's notes down here as well. This post is talking about the power of drops. So first you have an X% drop rate to get item XXX. Then this item has a %Y high power chance to have higher stats. Then considering the combinations of its attributes and talents, it can be a good roll. It's so bad the amount of rainbow rolls there are in the game at the moment, and the devs have said they're not aware of, they haven't made any changes to it, their system's just done it through generating random loot. That doesn't just happen. Your system doesn't just malfunction like that. The update focuses on three main aspects, mainly game health through bug fixes and balancing. That's what it's like with every single title update. Generosity, which is what Yannick mentioned, loot generosity. It's supposed to increase your chances to receive a high quality item as loot, and increasing the overall player power, which is a lie, is bullshit. It doesn't happen like that. So in terms of the loot, the item power. Updated item power distribution to have a better spread between minimum and maximum for all difficulties. Increased minimum rolled item power for field proficiency in DZ caches, clan caches and season caches. Increased targeted loot drop chances for all missions and control point difficulties. Increased NPC loot drop chance for veterans and elites on Legendary. That is not the case at all. You don't get a lot more rolls on against veterans and elites on Legendary. So, have a better spread between minimum and maximum for all difficulties. All difficulties includes World Tier 5. In Title Update 8/9, World Tier 5 had much higher chances to drop 515, so more or less 100% power items, but now they are in line with level 40. Better spread means the power of drops are mainly in a narrow range. The chances of power is beyond that range to be max and min are lowered. The result is worse chances to get a full power item. Then the loot generosity part of it. So the amount. Title Update 10's target loot has higher drop chance, so generally players get more loot drops. That is partially the case with the targeted loot, but it's also with mods, and mods are just not dropping with god roll stats. Playing on Heroic, playing on Legendary, getting mods. I've literally seen about 6 or 7, and I know it slowly goes up every time I talk about the mods, but ever since Warlords come out, and that's 4 months ago now, I've had about 6 or 7 god rolled mods. Not only that, there is a bug in the game, a couple of stats, when you get them to drop, they will not show up as a god roll even though they are the highest percentage they can be. And then looking at the quality, increasing your chances to receive a high quality item as loot. It's false, it's a load of shit. From the tables above, the highest and lowest power chance is lowered. Massive also said the result is mostly fewer rolls at the minimum, which is more proper to be used in patch notes. So going back to these charts up here, all the percentages and stuff, if you look here, you've got 78% against 60, you've got 29 against 18. So before title update 10, you had a 29% chance of getting an 80 to 88% like roll on your piece of loot. That's now 18%. It's dropped. Basically, what they've done, or what it seems as though they've done, is they've lowered your chances of getting high-end drops and low-end drops, and it's now like a mid-tier game. Even though the stats have been messed up across the board, it just seems as though there's a lower chance of getting the bare minimum rolls and the top maximum rolls, and it just seems to be balanced to the middle, which is not how it should be. And people keep saying like, oh, you're expecting too much, wanting God rolls all the time. When you've put time and effort in and you've completed mission after mission, like I've been spending like 8 to 10 hours a day grinding for pieces for builds, and sometimes it just never happens. I spend so much time on this game grinding. It's not that I don't even deserve the drops, but they should, because it's a looter shooter. I'm the maximum level a player can be. They should be dropping a lot more often than what they do. I should be able to get max rolls. I should be able to feel powerful. A lot of players should be able to. So I actually spoke to Con, Pete and Lewis about this and got their opinions. And some of the ideas we come up with was to make it a better chance to get minor attributes related to the brand set. So a higher chance of getting yellow drops on Murakami. If you're getting Sokolov, have a higher chance of getting red rolls. If you're going for Gilagard, have a higher chance of getting blues. Another one was to, as everyone's been asking for a long time now, or a lot of people have asked over the course of the last 16 months, let us recalibrate 2 things on a piece of gear instead of 1. Even if it's 1 attribute, 1 talent on a chest and a backpack, and then 2 attributes on an item that has 3 different attributes, that would be fine. And I don't know why they can't do it for normal gear, because gear sets, if you go for like knee pads, holsters, masks, gloves, a lot of the time they just drop with 1 roll. So you can always recalibrate that to the highest it can be. Another thing was to slide the minimum rolls along so that the rolls are higher naturally for max level players. So you'll see here like 78% for 72 to 80%. Maybe change the numbers around a little bit, but literally slide all of these along to the right just once. So normal, you're going to get a minimum roll of 32%. Hard, you're going to get a minimum of 48. Instead of 32, you'll get 48. Then challenging will be minimum 64 instead of 48. Heroic would be minimum 72, and then Legendary would be minimum 80. When you are doing Legendary, I would say minimum 80 is a good sort of level playing field. Like, that's how it should be. You shouldn't be getting items to drop with less than 80% rolls when you are playing Legendary difficulty. As I stated earlier in the video, we don't want to be level 30 or 40 max level players, on like depending on whether we have the expansion or not. We don't want to be a max level player getting really bad rolls. That's just not how it should be. We put the time in to get to the maximum level, we should be getting good gear. And it's probably far too late to make significant changes to the point where this actually matters in the game. But if they are making a Division 3, this needs to be worked on a lot, because it's not acceptable having this sort of stuff 16 months down the line. If they make a Division 3, it's going to piss off a lot of the player base if the loot is still this much of a shit show. For an example, when they released Title Update 10, they've messed it up to the point where, like, this isn't me, I haven't had personal experience with it, but I play with Lewis a lot, and Lewis has said that the P416, if you put strained on it, I believe it is, it's actually better than the fucking Eagle Bearer. The Eagle Bearer is locked behind Operation Dark Hours. It's a raid exclusive gun that has an incredibly low chance of coming out of the cache or the box or whatever at the end, and you also can only have 1 shot at it per week because of the keys. And apparently the P416, which you can get from any like AR targeted loot mission, out of caches or whatever, you can get that P416 several different ways, and apparently if you set it up right, it's stronger than the Eagle Bearer. That should never ever be the case, especially for a raid exclusive. But this video's gone on for quite a while. I thought I'd show you this stuff because it's really important to the loot game. Like, it's not in any sort of condition to be validated to be in this game. Like, it's a fucking, like, this has been shithoused on another level. Like, this is ridiculous to have these percentages this far into the game. It would be completely different if this was their first ever game. But there's 2 points I want to make. This is the second game in the franchise. They had a really good foundation with Division 1. I don't know why they tried building it from the ground up for number 2 and changing everything around, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you would appreciate Survival, Last Stand, Underground, anything like that, any of the modes from Division 1, classified gear sets, the optimization station. There's a lot of different stuff that would be appreciated in this game, but they just switched it all off. They built it from the ground up. They had a solid foundation. They should have just carried on building on that foundation for number 2. The second point I'd like to make, these are people that have gone to college, gone to university, they've studied coding and programming and stuff for video games. They have a qualification for this. They are very experienced people, and they're still not doing this right. They're still not even doing it slightly right. There are so many things wrong in this game. I don't believe it's all massive. I believe some of it it is up to the people higher up. I believe there's a lot of misdirection. The same thing that happened with Anthem. I think some of it is development. I'm not blaming it all on Ubisoft, but I think it's a mixture. But on that note, I'm going to leave the video there. I want to know your guys' thoughts and stuff in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.